I'd like to thank the grace of heaven and the virtue of our masters and predecessors and the benevolence of our transmitters and everyone here that I have this opportunity to present this class called Introduction to the Lineage of Tao, the Golden Thread. Actually, it's really just the golden thread. That's my emphasis. Okay. But the problem is that when you talk about the golden thread, you have to talk about lineage. So that's why it's got included. Okay. So I'll do some quick background because this presentation is a little bit long, but I'm going to have to do it in a very short period of time. Okay, so this first asks the importance of the lineage of Tao, just to give you an idea of what Tao is. Okay, first of all, Tao is not a religion. Okay, in the sense of how I would have to say how Tao interprets it. Okay, not what every other religion interprets, because every other religion would look at us and say, hey, you're just a religion. Okay, so now it's not a religion, and it's only in the sense that, again, only from the Tao perspective, meaning the fact that there is a special aspect of this Tao that is not religious. Okay, and that has to do with what we call the mandate, which is related to the golden thread, and the lineage. Okay, and a particular ceremony. Okay, that I mentioned to you earlier about. Okay, so but everything else, when you look at us, you see us doing the rituals, the propriety, we have our rules and regulations. Those aspects are, I guess you could say, equal to what a religious organization would have, or a religious institution would have. Okay, no different. Okay. And just as we also apply for nonprofit status or tax-free status, every religious organization does that. Anyway, okay. So, all right. Anyway, so the reason why Tao, from its own perspective, is not religion, as I mentioned, it's about certain aspects of it. Okay, and even though it does talk about, it does have its own set of what we call sutras, like what we call, in the English, in Christianity, they would call it the Bible. For instance, a Bible is, from a Buddhist perspective, is nothing but it's called a sutra. It's not a Bible, not called a Bible. Okay, that's just a name, that's all. Okay, a sutra is just basically teachings that will allow you to help you cultivate and also become enlightened. Okay, that's pretty much what it is. Okay, so it is not condition of religion, philosophy, or a set of teachings. Okay, and that only is because it is related to that specific aspect of the Tao. Okay, that special part, that special aspect. Okay, okay. Now here it says it is condition of lineage of Tao, the spirit of the patriarchs, and the mission of the direct Tao transmission. That is what is when it says here the mission of direct Tao transmission, or i.e., for example, the mind-to-mind transmission of the Buddha, of the Tao Buddha Dharma, and the mandate again for the propagation of Tao from master to disciple outside the scriptures of sutras. That means that there are certain aspects, I guess, you can say, of this belief system that is beyond or not related to specific aspects of sutras or Bible or teachings. Okay, so that is why I say again, outside of the Tao perspective, everybody still calls us, you're just a religion, because they do not see the part that is not related to the teachings of the sutras, etc. Okay, and that is what we call the receiving Tao ceremony. Okay, the reason why is this: for Tao members who have already received Tao ceremony, they can participate in a ceremony that's being conducted, the receiving Tao ceremony. For those who do not, I guess you could say, adhere to the belief of the Tao, okay, are not allowed to participate or view the Tao receiving ceremony. That is the part, that is why I mentioned to you earlier about this, the aspect that's different. Okay, and so therefore that is why when we do have rules and regulations which says that, okay, if you are conducting a ceremony, etc., those who are not already or have not already received Tao cannot be involved or cannot even view or hear, because during that time certain mind-to-mind transmissions, I guess I'll call it that for now, is being conducted. So that is why, yes, we do encourage those who are interested in the Tao to go ahead and at least go through the ceremony. Because the ceremony itself does not say that from henceforward, you are now converted to a specific blah blah religion. There is no conversion. It is only saying that you are given something that's very special. You're only given something that's very special. What you do with it after that, that's up to you. Okay, sure, we can encourage you to say, okay, what you received is sort of like the first step or the opening of a specific door to a path. We will encourage you to then to take that path. Okay, and that path is what we call cultivation. Okay, and cultivation comes in many different forms, but there's a certain, because of our rules and regulations, we do have certain aspects of cultivation that can help you. But whether you take that road or not, whether you may have opened the door and crossed the threshold because of the ceremony, but whether you continue to take that path or not is up to you. So yes, that is why, again, I encourage you to go through the Tao ceremony, okay? Because again, it is only something that you receive, you get, okay? Not something that we can tell you, oh, okay, yeah, this is enlightenment. No, enlightenment comes from yourself only. You can only enlighten yourself. No one can enlighten you for you. Okay, all right, okay. So anyway, so that's basically a quick rundown. So what is lineage and what is mandate? Okay, lineage just means to describe. It's just literally a lineage, a line. You know, a way to sort of like connect one point to the one dot to the next. You know, and then you go back. And this happens to be lineage in time. That's what it really means. So lineage backwards in time, because after all, many. Well, I shouldn't say many. Today, most people do not or have not heard much about what is called the Tao. Okay, they may think it's the Taoist religion. Well, Taoism is actually not a religion. It's more like a philosophy. It comes from Lao Tzu 2,500 years ago. But Tao is not Taoism, and that's where people get confused. Okay, so our Tao has a lineage, has a connection to the past. Okay, and what is the mandate? A mandate is a particular aspect of this lineage that also connects us to the past. Okay, that's all I can say. Mandate by definition is just authority, a decree to allow you to do certain things. That's all, by definition. Okay, all right. So, but lineage and mandate here we're talking about is just a way to connect us to the past. Okay, so or when I say past, it really should say also to the origin, if you will. Okay, to an origin. Okay, so now again, what is Tao? Tao is formless. So we look at the phenomenon to understand and realize that the lineage of Tao is one set of phenomena. Yeah, right. Okay. So here, because the Tao itself is formless, it cannot be. You know, what when we talk about, we say, oh, Tao is this, Tao that, Tao this, Tao that. Okay, that's really not Tao. That's not the true Tao, because we're only talking about the manifestations of the Tao. So, or the phenomena. It's described here as phenomena to understand this Tao. Okay, so this lineage, or this mandate, if you will, is a manifestation of this Tao also. Is one such phenomena, or one such manifestation. Okay, so here, lineage. Okay, now when we however talk about Tao, lineage Tao, we talk about specifically a line of patriarchs who are primary and line masters responsible for the transmission of Tao and also responsible for the continuation of the lineage and the mandate to propagate the Tao, i.e. the golden thread. Okay. Here it just means the fact that, yes, I mentioned the connecting dots. The dots are individuals, if you will, that goes back through in time. Okay, and these are particular people who are enlightened to the Tao, number one, and also has a responsibility to try to continue this transmission or this transmission of the Tao to pass on to the next generation, for example, etc. And that part of it has to do with what we call the mandate. By being a primary enlightened master, they also receive this mandate or this responsibility for this continuation. Okay, so, and sometimes this mandate and lineage, both of them combined, is commonly called the golden thread. Okay, just a golden thread. Okay, just a phrase. Golden because it's precious, thread because it's a line. Okay, that's all. heavenly decree. Heavenly decree is nothing more than the mandate itself. Okay. In other words, heaven has mandated you or has given you a decree to be able to do certain things. Okay. So this heavenly decree, this mandate, is from what we say God. Okay. Now God, of course, the term I use, God here, is, I guess you could say, equivalent to what the other religions call Allah, or God, or Yahweh, or Buddha. Okay, because that's the equivalent. Okay, well, Buddha not in the sense of his physical form, but Buddha in his enlightened state. Okay, that's what is meant by God. Okay, and this mandate or heavenly decree is known as the mandate of heaven or divine authority. Okay, heavenly post. Okay, heavenly post is a position of post which is an enlightened being is responsible for all sentient beings which may seek salvation through this enlightened being. Okay, that's just a label, a title that we give to a specific individuals at a certain time and place. Okay, so it just happened to call heavenly post. That's all. Okay, post of Tao transmission, the position or post in which an executor, also an enlightened being, actually performs the task and fulfills the mission of the enlightened being. Okay, all right. So now that I've mentioned those two, let me just go back. Heavenly post is a post usually is was of a person, but usually by the time they attain the heavenly post, they're already past this world. You know, they're already gone from this world. Okay, they're a spiritual. They are a spiritual being. Okay, all right. And then post of Tao termination usually indicates a person who's still living on this world and is physical. Okay, but they are. Here it says also an enlightened being. Okay, in other words, they have enlightened to the fact that yes, they have responsibility, they have this mandate, blah blah blah. Okay, and then enlightened masters with heavenly decree. Okay, enlightened master here, they're talking about people like me, so to speak. Okay, people who wear these robes. No. Well, to a certain extent, yes. Oh, that's true. That's right. Okay, yeah. But anyway, enlightened master with heavenly decree is an enlightened person who has a decree from God to transmit Tao to others, or the mandate to propagate the Tao. All patriarchs and enlightened masters with such mandate, but not all enlightened masters are patriarchs. Yeah, that's the second part. That's me. Okay, not all enlightened masters. So I'm not enlightened yet. But the point is this. Okay, there should be another definition here called a patriarch. A patriarch really is this. It's the post. Typically, it's used here. Post of Tao transmission. Okay, okay. So below them, especially, are people who have the mandate to be able to conduct, for example, that special ceremony I mentioned earlier. Okay, the Tao receiving ceremony. Okay, but they themselves cannot give another person the same mandate. In other words, I can't say, "Hey, Gene, you want to be the next transmitter?" No, can't. Okay. Well, she may want to or may not want to, but I can't give it to her anyway. So here's a blank sheet of paper. You fill it out. No, I can't do that. Okay. So in other words, so if, for example, we one day grow old, which I probably will, I most certainly will. Excuse me. I'll grow old and pass away. Then the mandate is gone. My mandate is gone because I'm dead. Okay, I'm alive. If I'm alive, I can still conduct the ceremony myself. But if I'm dead, that's it. That's period. But now for the heavenly post people, as I mentioned earlier, they were normally, maybe originally a person, but is no longer alive, right? They're spiritual, right? So these people still, they're spiritual, but yet they still have a responsibility. Okay, because heavenly post is a responsibility that does not span only a person's lifetime, because they're spiritual already. It can span a long period of time, and that period of time can vary. That's why we have what is called the three periods. The green, which is down here, which leads back to down here, the three eras. The green, red, and white, where they vary in terms of length of time. Okay. Okay. Now here it goes. The three eras, which is with very nicely named green, red, and white of calamities. Okay, well, okay, yeah, it isn't just calamities. It's really just periods of time. Okay, it just so happens that there's calamities in those times, so that's why they add the word calamities in here. But it's really not necessarily just calamities. Okay, because there could be nice golden eras of civilization and all that stuff. But anyway, the period of human history in the past 5,000 years, approximately from 3,000 BC to the present. Okay. Now this didn't go into detail, and I won't because of the fact that you get a very specific explanation of the 3 areas after you've gone through the ceremony. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's why, as I mentioned, sometimes it's good to go through a ceremony only because you can really truly get a little bit more understanding. Okay. Ten Dao. Ten Dao is literally means heaven Dao. Okay. Heaven, or Tian is heaven. Okay. And Dao. Okay. And Dao is just a word that's used by Lao Tzu to refer to this unexplained, undescribable, unexplainable thing. Okay, which is the Tao. Okay, the current common name for Tao, also referred to as Yiguan Dao. Okay, Yiguan Dao is now a term that's used today. If you would like to go to like Google, Google Yiguan Dao, it'll give you a nice, good explanation. Of course, it only talks about the aspects that's not associated with the special aspect of that Tao. Okay, of this Tao. Okay, so but it's called Yiguan Dao for a particular reason. It's related to a saying by Confucius when he was still alive, because many of the disciples at that time had asked him, how is it that you can, teach us these things, and where do you derive your teachings from? What is it that allow you to expound these teachings to us? And he says, all my, I guess you could say, all my knowledge, if you will, you want to call it that for now, okay, or my wisdom, is that which is let's see, I'm paraphrasing here. My Tao, this wisdom, or this whatever you want to call it, my references where all my knowledge comes from, is the one which is 一以贯之, it's all prevailing. Excuse me, prevailing.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Okay, it's something that encompasses everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can say nothing's beyond it.
Yeah, nothing's beyond it. So, okay. So now, okay, now here, this actually talks about something called what we call the perspective of time in terms of world history. Okay. In fact, a lot of Tao members actually don't know too much about this, but here's a good explanation of it. Okay. Eastern civilizations tend to view time as, or not time, but not necessarily time, but events. Okay, events that occurred in time as very cyclical. It's periodic. In other words, history sort of like is very cyclic or very periodic. Yeah, if you look at history today, it's true. Okay, whereas Western civilization tends to think, or science tends to think, time as something that's very linear. It's past, present, future. Okay, now that's true. It is called past, present, future from our perspective, but from a perspective of the Western, Eastern cultures or whatever, they think that past, present picture, but the future becomes our past, or our present, and our present becomes our past, and then it goes on and on. Okay, so which is true. Our present will become our past, right? Right?
The future never arrives.
Yeah, the future never arrives.
There's always another future, right?
Yeah, because there was always another future. Yeah, but it is more than that. Okay, and it has to do with there was a Neo-Confucius scholar. Okay, he's the one who actually came up with the Yuan Hui, or what we call the Yuan Hui. Okay, these are 2 Chinese terms. By the way, anybody know specifically what Yuan means? Yuan.
It means cycle.
Okay, and Hui.
Hui is like a period or phase.
Yeah, phase. Right. Okay, so it just means the fact that from the 2 words you already can have an understanding that it's cyclic. Okay, and what he says is this. He goes, okay, hey, you know what? The way he came up with the idea is that, hey, there's 12 hours in a day and night. Okay, the reason why we call it 12 hours, it's really not 12 hours. It's called 12 periods in a day and night combined. Okay, today we call it 24 hours. Okay, by the way, 24 hours is only because in this past few 100,000 or so years, okay, it's that because if you were to look at, if you were to time the Earth, this rotation of the Earth, like a million years ago, and if you were to time the rotation of the Earth a million years later, you'll find, hey, it's spinning fast. It was more than 24 hours before, and now in the future it's going to be less than 24 hours. Okay, so because this guy was born, like 2,000 years ago, or whatever, so it was still within this period of time. So there was 12 periods in a day or night. Because if you notice that, I don't know if you, many of you seen like a lot of movies, which I do a lot, okay, and you'll find that, and then you'll find that when they talk about time, he goes, oh, this is the third watch, the first watch, or sometimes they go, it is the first bell or whatever. Okay, and you'll notice that in those feudal days, especially in Europe, they call it the watch. Most countries, not all, but each watch is equivalent to our 2 hours today. 2 hours. So that's why there's 12 periods in a 24-hour day. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. So that's 12 periods. Okay, and then he goes, you know what? Using the lunar calendar, that is the way because at that time, in the ancient days, it was to really time the sun. It was hard because they didn't have sunglasses then. They can't look at the sun. It's like blinding, so you can't see it. But if you look at the moon, yeah, you can look at it. So that's why it's easier to use the moon. Okay. I'm just joking here, but but anyway, it was easier to view the moon or to see the cycle of the moon. Okay, because maybe it was night. People like to stay awake at night and watch the moon or whatever. It was nice and bright. So they say, hey, notice. They say, hey, the moon rotates, periodically, okay, and then they say, and because it rotates periodically, and it's usually now it's not necessarily in the same position each time, but after, and you may have to correct me on this if I'm wrong. After 30 days, does it go back to other position or something like that? I'm not so sure here. Okay, but anyway, he noticed that, okay, he got these 30 days in a month only because of the fact that they denote, how do I say it? I think it was because they realized that, hey, it seems to be rising at the same place every 30 days or something like that. Okay, again, I may be wrong. Okay, and then there's 12 months in a year. Well, actually, in a lunar calendar, this is incorrect. Okay, it's not 12 months. Okay, it's 12 plus months a year. Okay, because the reason why is because finally they got sunglasses or whatever, but they were able to view the sun, and they noticed for instance, the equinoxes. We've heard of equinoxes, right? What are equinoxes? Is the fact that it always rises at the same place after a period of time, right? The sun, okay, or the solstices, same thing. Okay, so that's why they realized, hey, this period of time happened to be equivalent to what we call a year now, 365 days. Okay, and then now, but they go, well, if you have 30 days, there's 365 days, right? Well, 365 in a quarter, technically, right now, quarter plus whatever, it's like every several hundred years or whatever, you have to add like point something seconds, because again, our rotation is changing. Okay, but anyway, so they realized that, hey, the moon does something periodic every 30 days, roughly, okay? And the sun does the same thing every equivalent to our 365 days. And so they say, okay, let's use both. So therefore, they came out with 30 days, and they came up with 12 plus months. It's really more than 12 months in a year, because in the lunar calendar, you'll notice sometimes some years you have double months, right? Yeah, which is kind of strange, Yeah, and also, of course, just like the solar calendar, every 4 years you got leap year, right? Heck, imagine if you were born on a leap year, you can only have a birthday every 4 years. Oh, that's true, right? That's true. That's true. You can say you're younger. Yeah, sure. Like a dog years, kind of count dog years. Okay, but anyway, all right. And then so using the concept of 30 and 12, or the special reference of 12 and 30, 12 days, 12 periods in a day, and 30 for the lunar, they continue 12. That's how they got 30 years in a 4. Okay, 4 is just time. It just means time, right? 时间的时, right? No, it's not 时间.
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah, you're right. Excuse me. Yes, thank you for correcting me.
Generation.
It's a generation. And then using again the number 12 in a yuan. No, that's not yuan. 12 in a yun. Yun. Oh, yun. Okay. Again, that's also a cycle.
No.
Not really a cycle?
Yin is like, I would say, a dynasty.
Oh, that's like a period of time. Okay, just a period of time. Okay, yin. Okay, and then 30 yin and a hui. Okay, that's just a bigger.
No, Hui is it's a period. It's a period.
Okay,
phase.
right. And then you have 12.
Literally, it means
Yeah.
like assembly or meeting.
Yeah, a
Hui.
collection, actually
Yeah,
a collection.
collection.
Yeah, collection of 12 sis in
A
a
period.
hui.
Yeah, so it's
And
like
then
a
there's
phase.
12 huis in a yuan.
Yeah, it's like a cycle.
Complete
Literally,
cycle.
It could be circle.
Yeah, complete circle, right, yuan. Okay. So again, the concept of 12, 12, 12. Okay, so that is how you get this 10,800 years is a hui. Okay, why? Because you get 30 times 12 times 30 times 12.
Well, it's
Oh no,
360
no,
squared,
not 12.
no?
It starts with 30 because this is years already. This is already in years. So you have to do it in years. So anyway, it comes out to 10,800 in a hui. And then since there's 12 hui in a yuan, 12 times 1080, 800 equals 129, 600 years. Okay, and that is what we call a cycle. Okay, now this 129,000 years. Today, science today would look at it kind of weird, but they won't completely disregard it because this 1,200, 600 years is very close. It happens to be very close to certain aspects of the rotation of the Earth around the Sun, and let's see, the rotation. Oh, and the I think has to do with the how do I say it? The
Precision.
no, not no. It's related to, okay. You could say there's on the Earth rotates, right, and so therefore it spins like a top, and then it points to what today is called the North Star. The dog polar star, right.
Polaris.
And then in another 10,000 or 12,000 years later, it'll be pointing to a different star because
yeah, it's a different
the
type.
top sort of like, it's like a top when you spin it, it wobbles.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
called
the
precision.
point of the geographic axis changes over time, and it goes around. Okay, and also the precession of the Earth, meaning that how much it tilts, changes. We're right now around 23 degrees, but according to science, it varies between 22 something and 24 something. So we're in between. Okay, and then also the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. Right now, it's very circular, but in reality, it's actually an elliptical orbit. So therefore, it also goes from a circular to become elliptical, become circular again, become elliptical. It goes back and forth. So it's very periodic. All these things are periodic. Okay, anyway, all these things have something to do in science today. We call the Milankovitch cycle, which is about 110,000 years. Okay, and of course, remember, this is like 2,500 years ago. 2,000 years ago, somebody came up with this. He didn't have sunglasses. He didn't have medical, scientific instruments, but he came up with this. Pretty smart, I would say, or pretty close. Anyway, so the point is, all these things, in a way, is related to also us humans. Okay, and it has to do with how Tao sees the cycle, explains the cycle. It's a cycle in which it goes from, you could say, rise and fall of humanity, not rise and fall of civilizations, but rise and fall of humanity. Okay. Of people living, or more generally, rise and fall of life on Earth. And by life, we're talking about animal life, plant life, human life. Okay, and so one of the things in science today is called the, what is it called? Has to do with our DNA. It's called there was a project that was done several years ago. I think.
Genome mapping.
No, the Human Genome Project.
Yeah.
It's called the Human Genome, in which they try to map everybody's DNA to see, hey, where do we come from, whatever. And it just so happens we all come from Africa. We're all Africans, by the way. Come on, our source is all African. No, because that's where our life developed. Okay, so but anyway, the point is this. It just so happens as they were tracing the Human Genome Project, they noticed, hey, you know what? About 60 or 70,000 years ago, or over 60,000. I would say between 60 and 90. Let's put it that way, because science can never be so precise when it talks about the past. Okay, that guess what? there were very few of us. Very, very few. Science even goes to the point of saying anywhere between 3,000 to 30,000 living humans on this earth. That's what they claim. Okay, that's what they claim. And it varies between 3 and, again, science is never precise, so they go 3 and a factor of 10, 30,000. Okay, and they say the reason why is this is because they understand human genome, our DNA mutations pretty well, and so therefore, based on the predicted or the average mutation change and all that stuff, guess what? We should have a lot more diversity if our population had been much bigger at that time. But if you can condense your population to only this amount, then if you let them procreate continuously, whatever, and get to today, hey, yeah, that DNA mutation amount would match. So that's why they say it's 3,000 to 30,000. Okay, now that's a very few population, right? We're almost like, how many people per square mile? Very little, a lot. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, very little. And they say, wait a minute. Archaeologists say, hey, wait a minute. Prior to that time, there were a lot more people because they found, evidence all over the place. There are a lot more people. Why is it that they became so few? Okay, and believe it or not, this is what we discover, so to speak, the past, I would say, definitely within the past 15 years. Definitely within the past 15 years. Or even more certain, within the past 20 years. Okay, we know this for certain. Now, this guy, 20,000 years ago in this Tao, has an explanation for that. They go, again, it's the cycle of what? Life on Earth, they say. Okay, we are now, according to Tao, we are now at what period? I don't have the cycle that Kai has, but basically we are a period of the peak.
No, we're at the Wei,
yeah, which is the peak, I guess you could call it.
It's 1 o'clock position.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock position. Okay, if you want to use the clock, yeah, that's a good way to use it. Yeah.
Isn't there a diagram?
No, not in this.
No.
Oh, really? I didn't see it. Okay, but anyway, so we're near at the peak, and then we're about halfway.
Right here.
If you start at 0 at the bottom, 0 at the bottom, yeah, it goes up. We're now at 12 o'clock, and then when we get back to 6 o'clock again, something will happen to us that will reduce or have a decline in life in this world. Okay, and then it's cyclic. Okay, and it seems to match what science talks about today, which is kind of interesting. Okay, anyway, I'm running out of time. So using the Yang-Hui theory to describe human history, here we're now talking. The way it's described here is very religious in nature. I'll call it that for now. Okay, because the fact that in every civilization or ancient civilization, there was always something called a creation theory, how they describe Earth, or how they describe how they came about. Because everybody wants to know where we come from. Everybody wants to know, right? So therefore, these creation myths or theories, if you will, okay, just like for example, Gilgamesh, the Middle Eastern, yeah, Gilgamesh, it's a creation type of story. Okay, the ancient Chinese have also their creation theory of what? Pangu.
Yeah, Pangu.
Pangu. Yeah, and anyway, the point is that there's many. Each civilization, I guess we're gonna call it that for now, has their own. Because like in the ancient Celtics, they have their own creation theory. How life came about, how they were made. How they became alive in this world. Okay, but anyway, according to the Tao or this Yang-Hui theory, okay, during the first Wei, around the 6 to 7 o'clock position, I guess you could say heaven was created. During the second Wei, Earth was formed. That's between 7 and 8 o'clock. And then during the third Wei, humans are born between 8 and 9 o'clock. Okay, and then we're at the end of the seventh Wei, which is around like 7 o'clock. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Okay, and beginning with the eighth Wei. Eighth Wei starts at the 1 o'clock position, right? Okay, and the ninth Wei, humans will quote unquote disappear. Notice this in quotations because we don't really just disappear, it's just that we decline. Okay, and then in 10th Wei, Earth will end again in quotations, so therefore it will basically be very non-conducive to life. Let's put it that way. That's a more accurate way of saying it. And the 11th Wei, heaven will close means the heavens will become very unfriendly, meaning that there could be bad weather or like completely overcast for 1,000 years or whatever, etc. And then in the 12th Wei, time of chaos. Again, that means a great deal of disruption in the environment. Okay, all right. So, because that in itself, I don't have time, because if you want to talk about this Yuan Hui theory stuff, that's a topic in itself, so I won't go into that. But anyway, just know that, if you come to the classes every day, one day you'll probably hear about it, and you'll probably understand it more, if you go through the ceremony. not to rank on you, but anyway. Okay, so now let's get back to really the golden thread aspect. Okay, now that's just to give us an idea that how life evolves on this world. Okay, now according to the Yuan Hui theory, okay, human beings exist from the beginning of the 4th wave to the beginning of the 9th wave. With these 6 phenomena, there are 10 Buddhists responsible. They're heavenly posts during this particular Yuan Hui period now. Okay, so therefore already there has been 64,000 years already passed. Okay, and in that time, humans have begun to procreate and spread throughout the world. Okay, in other words, basically after we came out of this Africa about 75,000, 80,000, 85,000 years ago. Okay, and there were 10 Buddhists responsible for the heavenly posts. Remember, the heavenly posts are those who are spiritual in nature. They're not necessarily physical. They don't have to be physical. Okay, the first 7 Buddhas were to govern the world during the growth phase. They govern the world beginning the 4th wave, the middle wave, blah blah. And these 7 Buddhas are, and again, just for your rough information, these are first 7 you see over here. Okay, and then so let's see. There's all these add up to about 64, close to 64,000 years ago. Okay, and then the ones we're really going to be interested in is one towards the end. Okay, and here basically this one right here. Okay, in this particular period, there was a person called Fu Xi. Okay, now Fu Xi is a historical folklore person that's mentioned in some archaeological finds in China. In other words, there are inscriptions in the archaeology, whether it's from, I don't know, clay pots or tablets or whatever, that or writings referring to a person called Fu Xi. Now, so far, no other evidence has been found about, this person. They didn't find like a watch that belonged to Fu Xi or something like that, or an iPhone or iPad or whatever. They didn't. Okay, so the point is that they only know that this is a person that's been referenced. So therefore, it is possible that he could have been a living person, or it could still be a legend. We don't know. Okay, we don't know because there's no, again, things associated with him directly. Okay, but anyway, from Fu Xi then, basically, this is where the golden thread starts, if you will, from Fu Xi. Okay, so our golden thread, if you will, starts with Fu Xi and then it connects to us eventually. Okay, so anyway, skipping Fu Xi for now. Okay, here you go. The last 3 Buddhas are responsible for bringing all sentient beings back to their origin. Okay, you can all read this by yourself. Of the 7th wave, by the Spirit, forgot the Tao, so they need enlightened beings to guide them back to Tao. That's the important part here. By the time of our period right now, okay, the 7th wave, okay, in the 7th wave, humans have deviated from their Buddha nature and forgot the Tao. Now, yeah, I think, forgot the Tao should sort of like be in quotes also, but anyway, so they sort of like deviate in the sense that they no longer have an easy way, in fact, to get back to the Tao. Now, you say, wait, physically get back to the Tao? I mean, do we physically have a home somewhere, or a palace or a garden that we can go to? No. This is referring to our spiritual nature here now. Our spiritual nature, not our physical nature. Okay, all right. And so that is why we need enlightened beings to guide us back to the Tao. During this time, humans are advanced, but often at the expense of human lives and environment. Okay, yeah. Look at history. There's good times and bad times, and thus humans brought about disasters upon themselves when the earth's calamity began. Okay, hence that's why they. In other words, the fact that because we have lost our way back. Because the way back is also a way to help us guide our lives. Okay, so having lost that way back, we've also lost the way in which that we know how we should live our lives. Let's put it that way. Okay, so anyway, that's why you have disasters and calamities, because we create a lot of karma. Okay, everyone understands the concept of karma, right? Sort of. I have an idea. Cause and effect, causality. Okay, again, that's a topic in itself, so I won't get into. Okay, so anyway, so the important parts that I'm going to talk about is only these last 3 at these short period of time. The last about from 5,000 before 3,000 BC to now, so 5,000 years roughly. Okay. Here we reference three people: Dipankara Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha, and Maitreya Buddha. Okay. Now they're called Buddhas because they're spiritual, because they're no longer with us. Okay. Now, according to the stories, of course, all these people were also humans at one point in time, in the past. They are people who lived in this world, cultivated themselves so well that they became enlightened and they became Buddhas. Okay. Now, so here we're talking about this first Buddha, which is responsible for the green area. Okay, roughly during the 7th Wei. This is the approximate period of time in which that Buddha was responsible for. Okay, it was called the Green Period, and that lasted about 1,800 years. Shakyamuni Buddha, the Red Era, lasted for about over 3,000 years, and Maitreya, which will also last over 10,000 years. Okay, now we specifically talk about the Golden Thread. Okay, the Golden Thread consists of 64 generations of patriarchs. Okay, 64 happens to relate. Okay, 64 is a symbol of completeness because in the Book of Changes, the I Ching, the 8 trigram manifests 64 diagrams. Okay. Okay. Again, this relates back to Fu Xi. Fu Xi was the person who developed or created, if you will, what we call the 8 trigrams. Okay, the 8 trigrams are the predecessor to what we call the 64 hexagrams of what we today commonly call the I Ching. I Ching means the Book of Changes. Literally Book of Changes if you translate it directly. Okay, so now he sort of like, why did he come up with that in the first place? It's because he was, I guess, I don't know, maybe he was a smart guy. He wanted to figure out, how the heavens work and all that stuff. And so, and he had a hard time figuring it out, but then, a Buddha sort of like gave him a hint, by having an animal come, one day he was walking along the river or something like that, or stream, and he saw an animal come out of the water, okay, and on its, it has, I don't know, it has some fur or whatever on him, and then he noticed on that animal's fur or whatever, a sort of like a diagram. I don't know if you want to call it a diagram, or certain markings, okay, and that's how he sort of looked at that and he realized, hey, I can use that as a way to represent the changes of the world, changes of the heaven, earth, and life on this world. Okay, and that's why he came up with what's called the 8 trigrams. Trigram meaning that it has 3 lines. Okay, 3 lines, and the lines are long lines and dash lines. Okay, what we call broken lines. Okay, and then as that evolved, as it became more developed, it basically transmutated into what today we call the 64. Because based on the combinations of the 8, okay, 8 times 8, 64, okay, you can develop a 64 hexagram set out of this 8 trigram set. Okay, that's all I can say. Again, that's a topic in itself, the I Ching, so I won't go into that. All right, okay. So the 64 hexagrams symbolize all the possible changes in this physical world. Okay, now it is true that he only did it because he's trying to relate how it relates to him in this world, the world we live in. I wouldn't say it is necessarily how it relates to the cosmos. Okay, all right, 10 minutes. Okay, looks like it's going to be a little bit more than that. Okay, and thus there are no more sacred after 64 because based on the calculations that you could, or the commutation or the transmutations you can make, 64 is the most you can get out of this. So therefore, it was then, I guess, concluded that there can be no more transmutations. So therefore, 64 implies fullness or completeness. Okay, and so that's why what mentioned earlier about the 64 patriarchs earlier. Okay, back here. Oh, earlier. Okay. Anyway, I'm running short on time, so therefore.
Right there. You missed it.
Oh, okay.
A little higher.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, the 60. Okay. So anyway, so 64 basically. That's why there's only 64 generations of patriarchs. Now, when we say generations, it's not necessarily continuous generations. It just means a person lived for a period of time, and then the next person lived for a period of time. So if you count person to person or persons to persons, you come up with 64. That's all. Okay, because sometimes instead of a person, you could have a group, actually. Okay, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so Tao's definition is with different classes of people in different periods of time. During the green period, okay, the golden thread. Then how does that relate to golden thread? As I mentioned, the golden thread relates to these 64 person or groups of person. Okay, 64. Okay. Now, what's interesting is the fact that in reality, if you go through the counting of everybody that's associated with the line, with this golden thread, it's like the thread's like a branch. It has branches that comes out of it. Okay, and each branch then relates to a particular person. Okay, or group of person. So if you actually count the number of it's more than 64. But only 64 people or groups of people were considered patriarchs. And they're called patriarchs because they were all male, okay, male gender. Unfortunately, females in those days were not considered as significant, okay, not like today, that they are your significant other. But the point is that because it has to do in a way to, I guess you could say, human development, how the male gender saw itself as the dominant gender for the past, since civilization started. And then now, of course, we're sort of like saying, hey, it's equal. And then maybe the ladies will eventually become more dominant. Who knows? Okay. Which actually, according to Tao, it's possible. Okay, but anyway.
We already are.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so anyway. So, the people who relate after Fu Xi to the golden thread are King Yao, King Sun, Kings Wen, Wu, and Duke of Zhou. Okay, at that time he was a duke, but he later became a king. Okay, so and then there were no philosopher teachers in this period. Not that there were not that there were actually no philosopher teachers, but rather the fact that people of high learning or experience or whatever were not considered to be part of the patriarchs. Okay, the patriarchs, the people. Okay, so at that time the patriarchs were only given, or people who were in this lineage relate to the golden thread were only kings or emperors, you can call it. At that time, they didn't call themselves king because they didn't think themselves worthy of such a high status, because an emperor is supposed to be a high status of a king, right? Compared to a king. Okay, but these are people who are really virtuous people. Okay, and they happen to be kings at the same time. Okay, all right, and then during that particular time, which is the green period, which lasted about 1800 years. Okay. It is said that there were 9 worldwide disasters in the form of floods, destruction by water. And it just means the fact that, yeah, of course, if you count anything that's bad to humans as disasters, of course there are more than that. But in terms of large events that create calamities for humans, okay, there were probably maybe 9, around 9, I would say, not really 9. Okay, and most of these catastrophes were related to what? Water. Meaning the fact that whether it's flooding, maybe tsunamis, I don't know, maybe even then, or anything that had to do with water. And it is true that if you look at history and you read upon history and look at this the events that happened around 2000 BC or whatever, a lot of the things that happened are related to water in terms of flood. Okay, a good example of the Christian is what? You say what? The flood, right? Okay, Abraham and Noah. Excuse me, Noah. No, not Abraham.
Ark.
Okay, the ark. Okay, and of course that's in the Western civilization. In the Eastern, there happened to be a lot of flooding. Okay, and in part, you could say it's due to human activity. That's why they have these floods. Because after all, human civilizations always start around where? Water, whether it's river or coastal, right? It's always around water, because unfortunately we need water to drink. Okay, and also because you do that, obviously the thing can flood. Like today, California. Hear the news? I just got out of there in time. But anyway, I came over, just in the last year. But anyway, the point is that a lot of events were due to flooding. Okay, and then during the red period, which follows the green period, not necessarily a demarcation, but rather perhaps some overlap or whatever. You have what is called the red period, And red, of course. Oh, by the way, going back to green. Green, when we think of the color green, what do we normally think of?
Spring.
Leaves, green.
Flow.
Right, green, right? Okay. And so it's not surprisingly, this green period of time, if you look at worldwide human civilization, okay, that we have written records of, it's usually about what? 3,000, around 3,000 to maybe 5,000 BC, roughly, okay? Less with 5,000, but more 3,000. Because in ancient China, you have the civilizations that occurred along the Yellow River, okay? In Middle East, you have what? The Egyptian civilizations that begin to start develop, the Middle Easterns, okay, right?
Euphrates.
And then, yeah, the Euphrates, yeah, also the Nile, Euphrates, Mesopotamia, right. And then you don't hear too much about, I mean, I'm sure there were civilizations like in England where they have the Celtic civilization, ancient,
Well, it's
because you have what? Stone Age?
Druids.
Yeah, they call themselves the Druids. Okay, so, but anyway, the point is that if you, green seems to it's a good way of, spring is what? Growth, the beginning. And in a way, it reflects what? The beginnings of what?
The emergence
of
civilization.
human civilization, right? Yeah.
Civilization, not culture.
In this cycle, because today, I don't know if you read about from John Hancock, he's a guy scientist who likes to look for ancient civilizations, and they discovered, hey,
Atlantis.
Atlantis. There's Atlantis. Besides Atlantis, there's also, they say there's actually civilizations that's been underwater. Okay, underwater nowadays. Okay, especially off India, off Pakistan, India, the border between what's that river called? Off Mumbai. Okay, there's actually a civilization they found underwater. Okay, now how did it become underwater? Why? Because water, right? And water levels were what? Lower during that time. Okay, and why was that? Because of course, and according to physical science, they say what? In those past, we have what's called ice ages, right? And that's how, animals came from Asia to Americas, We all know this, right? We all read this in history, right? Okay, but the point is this. Yeah, everybody knows that, ice ages were around a long time ago, and the sea levels are lower, so therefore, yes, it could have been populations, or civilizations that developed, but not in this cycle, okay? Previous cycles, okay? So that's why, hey, the cycle talks about the rise and fall of life on this planet. Okay, anyway, continuing on, okay? And I'm about running out of time, so do we want to continue on, or do we want to go to the next class after this one? Because then I'm never going to finish this.
We need your permission.
We keep falling back, so we should actually finish it.
Okay. Okay, summarize it. All right. The point is this. Okay, if you want to summarize. Okay. Yes, we will conclude.
Another class.
Okay, yeah, these are the details actually, and the details are a little bit important because when we talk about the golden thread, we're talking really about what is called heaven's mandate, that mandate I mentioned earlier. Okay, and the point is this: today we also continue to have this mandate, this authority to what? Pass on this Tao, okay, this heart-to-heart transmission, etc. Okay, and we can do that is because of all these things that I've just passed on this paper, on this presentation here. They're the various individuals. Now, what's interesting about it is the fact that, yes, unlike sometimes when you look at this lineage, you say, hey, wait a minute, this golden thread, you call it golden thread, but, hey, somewhere it's a little bit cut. There's a segment that's missing and a segment that's missing, whatever. That is true. But in each time in which that it was missing, okay, the mandate has never left humanity in the sense that there were people in these gaps that, continue to try to teach about people about the Tao, but not in the official sense, in the sense that, okay, like today, there's a Buddha who would then, say, oh, we're going to have a class, we teach, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no. Okay, so, and that's why, so when you talk about, people, when you look at the man, you look at this thread, it's easy to say, hey, this man is broken. It stopped. No, but it still continued. Okay, and again, that's all in the details. Okay, and so to wrap it up, okay, here you go. The conclusion mark. Okay, today we have people who have received the mandate and it comes down blah 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 to our senior transmitters, and also I have the mandate, okay, because I happen to be a transmitter. Based on my karma, etc., I became a transmitter. Okay, the point is that I have this mandate to continue to conduct a ceremony for which people can continue to receive this Tao. Okay, and now today, of course, you'll find many groups, because in the detail part of it, you'll see that there's many times in which that people have not only splinter off, but sort of like branch off. Okay, but no matter how much they branch off or how many branches they come, for those who truly understand the mandate, they would always try to what? Connect back to this golden thread. Connect back. And that's very important, because unless you connect back what you preach or what the ceremonies that you conduct, etc., even though it seems on the surface is exactly the same as those who are still connected to the thread, okay, the question is whether you still have that mandate or not. And that is not something that we humans necessarily can answer. Okay, only heaven would know, because heaven's the one who gave us this mandate in the first place. Okay, and so heaven would, when your time is up and leave this world, you will know by then whether you have been connected to this mandate or not. Okay, and unfortunately, there's no way for us to know now. So anyway, today we have this mandate is because after the 64, remember the 64th, to conclude, okay, because there are many groups, okay, and then today we still have this mandate, even though after the 64th had already passed away in 1975. Okay, but we still have it, okay, and there's again a reason for that which I don't have time for. But the important thing is this: is that today we still have this mandate because the Buddhists themselves has not said we no longer have this mandate. Okay, and it's because of that today we can be certain that we still have this mandate. Okay, and the Buddhists basically still assist us in propagating, etc. Okay, for now. So anyway. I'm sorry that I really didn't go through this, because I've always thought that being very detailed would help and to give you a better idea. But anyway, I wish to thank the grace of heaven, the virtue of our masters and our predecessors, and the benevolence of our transmitters, that I have this opportunity to briefly present this class on the lineage of Tao and the golden thread, and that hopefully in the future maybe we will have more time to go through it thoroughly, and hopefully you will be able to enjoy that too also. Okay, so thank you very much. If I've said anything wrong, I hope Buddhists will forgive me.